So Mortal Kombat 1 just got announced, which is really exciting. A lot of people have been looking forward to this announcement. And it is both a sequel and also a reboot in the sense that, canonically speaking, Liu Kang becomes a god and he essentially resets everything. So it is both a continuity, but also going back to square one. And the trailer, it is CGI, so we don't get a glimpse of the gameplay, how the visuals will be like in-engine, in-game, and how the game will play. Though no doubt the game will look gorgeous and play super well, and it'll be a lot of fun. In the meantime, though, we can get a glimpse of these classic designs reimagined. We're seeing younger versions of these characters who we know and love. And it's just really cool what they're doing here, where they're taking that Mortal Kombat 1 visual aesthetic, but modernizing it. And it's just a really, I think, smart way to kind of freshen up the series and also just kind of bring it back a little bit. And it's really interesting to see what they're doing here. And a lot of gore, obviously, because it is Mortal Kombat. And so plenty of excitement surrounding this series. The trailer certainly hyped a lot of people up in terms of what it teases, though we're going to have to wait to see gameplay. In the meantime, though, there has been some discussions around the pricing model of Mortal Kombat 1. It is going to be $70, and that's kind of becoming the standard. But what people find surprising is that not only is there going to be a Switch version of this game at launch, but the Switch version itself is also going to be priced at $70. Keep in mind that right now, the only game that's $70 on the Switch is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Mortal Kombat 1 would be the second game ever on Nintendo Switch to have that $70 price tag. And with Tears of the Kingdom, one could argue that this game is so jam-packed with content and the game's just such high quality that that extra $10 compared to Breath of the Wild, which was $60, could be justified. With Mortal Kombat 1, though, on Switch, what you're most likely going to get is, something that hopefully will be a decent enough port for the little console, but it is ultimately going to be a compromised experience. The visuals are going to be nowhere near as good as they're going to be on other consoles, and certain features may have to be pulled back if the Switch just can't handle it. We can see right here in the press release of Warner Brothers announcing Mortal Kombat 1 that the game will be priced at $70. This is the standard edition, and it'll come out on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, as well as a Nintendo Switch, and of course on PC, including Steam and Epic Game Store. And on Nintendo Switch, it will be $70. And notice that this is not a cross-gen game. It's not coming out on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. It's just coming out on PlayStation 5, suggesting that this is a full-fledged current-gen game. So the gap between the Nintendo Switch and the far more powerful competing hardware is significantly wider than last gen's Mortal Kombat 11, which came out on PS4 and Xbox One. And even then, the Nintendo Switch version suffered significantly visually. It was good enough for what it was, but it was definitely a compromised experience. And what you got in return for that was the fact that you could take the game on the go, which is nice. But with Mortal Kombat 1 being a much wider gap between hardware power that's being utilized for the game, with Mortal Kombat 1 likely being much more advanced in graphics fidelity, I foresee the Nintendo Switch version looking significantly worse. And hopefully it'll perform well enough on Nintendo Switch, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were some compromises there as well. And for a lesser experience on the Nintendo Switch, we're being charged a full-fledged $70. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's also worth noting that much like with Mortal Kombat 11, Mortal Kombat 1 will feature in-game currency. It will have microtransactions. And while a lot of people enjoyed Mortal Kombat 11 overall, there was a lot of discourse surrounding its shady monetization practices that I feel will make their way into Mortal Kombat 1 as well. It is Warner Brothers after all. I think the core gameplay is still going to be fun. There's still going to be a lot of awesome content that people will enjoy. But I would expect the monetization to be aggressive because that's just what Warner Brothers tends to do. And so the justification of a $70 price point becomes that much harder. The whole excuse is, well, man, games are so expensive to make, we need to raise the base price. But when your game has aggressive monetization, that excuse goes out the window because at that point, people will spend more than $60, more than $70 to have a more reasonable experience instead of having to grind through stuff that is just paced at just an insufferable level. That's just going to be a thing that will likely be in Mortal Kombat 1 on some level. But alas, $70 is the trend right now. it is hard enough to justify because of the implementation of microtransactions, but the Switch version being $70, the Switch version should be, I'd say, $60. And I'm very curious to see how that porting job will go over, just how much more compromised the visuals will be. Hopefully, at least features-wise, it'll be in line with the other versions. But, you never know what could happen on that front, especially when you look at the compromises that Mortal Kombat 11 made on Switch. And again, the porting job of Mortal Kombat 1, which is a current-gen exclusive, porting it over to Switch, I think that's an even greater challenge than porting Mortal Kombat 11. So looking at this IGN Mortal Kombat 11 Switch review, you can see right here that the game launched on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC before releasing on Switch. And IGN highlights here that there are some puzzling differences between the Switch version and its more powerful brethren, beyond the obvious graphical downgrades that were bound to happen. For some reason, the Switch version of Mortal Kombat 11 had different pricing when it comes to its microtransactions and actually cost more than the other versions for some reason. And then beyond that, IGN talks about the graphical compromises. They do say that Mortal Kombat 11 still looks good enough on Switch, and the performance is pretty steady at 60 frames per second on Switch with occasional hitches here and there. Character models look great, albeit a bit fuzzy, but they did highlight that there were a lot of visual sacrifices made when it comes to stages and environments, which they highlight as looking low resolution with muddy textures and extremely basic lighting effects. Also, the crypt looks like an absolute mess with PS1 era fog and a complete lack of skybox. In fact, folks on social media have already been posting comparisons like these, highlighting the vast difference between the Switch version and the other versions of Mortal Kombat 11, where the Switch version literally has that PS1 era fog. And this Twitter user got flashbacks of this with the announcement of Mortal Kombat 1 also coming to Switch on the same day as the other versions. And if that's how much it had to scale back to port the last gen Mortal Kombat 11 to the Switch, imagine how much they'll have to scale back to port over the current gen Mortal Kombat 1 to Nintendo Switch, unless they've gotten so much better at the porting process that they'll somehow pull a miracle on us, which, fingers crossed for that, but there are limitations to how much you can push these ports. I'm also curious if Mortal Kombat 1 will have an always online requirement like Mortal Kombat 11 did for some of its marquee modes like Towers of Time and the Crypt, which defeats the whole purpose of the Switch version, which gives you the advantage to take the game on the go. But if you can't play the game on the go because you don't have an internet connection around you, then what's the point of owning the Switch version and having that much more compromised experience for the sake of portability if the portability factor is nullified by the always online connectivity requirement? Hopefully Mortal Kombat 1 doesn't have that, but with Warner Brothers, I tend to not be optimistic about them doing the right thing. People have also been raising questions about the size of Mortal Kombat 1, with gaming enthusiasts posting tweets like this: Mortal Kombat 1 is $70 on Switch. Wonder if we'll get the entire game on the cartridge this time. Also, hopefully Mortal Kombat 1 doesn't pull what they did with the Aftermath collection of Mortal Kombat 11 for the Nintendo Switch, which provided a plastic box that did not include the frickin' game card. All this plastic box did was provide a digital copy. Hopefully they won't make the same mistake with Mortal Kombat 1 for the Nintendo Switch. But as far as whether the entirety of Mortal Kombat 1 will be in the cartridge this time, I'll be honest with you, that seems highly doubtful because of the recent revelation that Mortal Kombat 1 is going to be roughly 100 gigabytes large. Now, it is possible that with the compromises that the Nintendo Switch port has to make when it comes to visual fidelity, that they'll be able to downsize and compress the game enough to fit in the cartridge's max size of 64 gigabytes. But that seems like a tall order. We'll have to wait and see. But somebody joked on Twitter that my 2017 Nintendo Switch trying to install Mortal Kombat 1 is comparable to this rocket situation in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which got a good enough laugh out of people, judging by the fact that it's already got over 31,000 likes on Twitter and 1.3 million views. Some people are speculating that it might just end up being a cloud version because of what a tall order porting over a current generation Mortal Kombat game into the Nintendo Switch's aged hardware is. And if that ends up happening, then they definitely cannot sell Mortal Kombat 1 at $70 for the Nintendo Switch. That would be a real travesty. But even if it is an actual cartridge that will be shipped, even if there is a porting job that is happening, even that is just going to ultimately end up being a worse version. I don't think it should be sold at $70, plain and simple. I don't think that's an acceptable price point for the Switch version. It should be $60 at most. Look, I'm excited about Mortal Kombat 1. I'm excited to see what they do with this whole reboot situation. I'm excited to play as classic characters with their classic designs, but modernized. And I think it's going to be a fun game. With all said and done, it's going to be gorgeous, and there's going to be a lot of cool stuff to look forward to with this game. But stuff like this, it's just worth keeping in mind. And with the Switch version specifically, yeah, I just don't foresee a scenario where the game will justify a $70 price point, or at least that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Mortal Kombat 1 being priced at $70 for even the Nintendo Switch version. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.